All right, today we're diving into the multiverse, but probably not in the way you're thinking. We're going to explore two really different, competing visions for what it all could be. Are we talking about isolated computer programs or a massive interconnected network? Let's get into it. So here's a question you've probably heard, right? Are we all just living inside some hyper-advanced computer simulation? It's an idea that's moved way beyond science fiction and into some pretty serious debates. And this question, it's our launching pad today, because it opens the door to an even newer, maybe even crazier idea about reality itself. And get this, we're not talking about ancient philosophy here. This is super recent, cutting-edge stuff. Back in 2011, physicist Brian Greene officially categorized what's known as the Simulated Multiverse. But just recently, a whole new framework popped up called Structured Multiversal Interactions, or SMI, that kind of builds on and in some ways challenges that whole idea. So let's start with the first one, the simulation. Okay, so let's kick things off with the concept that's probably a bit more familiar to most of us. Just imagine the ultimate video game. A universe literally built from the ground up by, well, someone or something else. The core idea here is, well, it's pretty straightforward, but at the same time, it is absolutely mind-bending. The simulated multiverse theory basically says that our entire reality, every star, every planet, heck, every single thought you've ever had is just code. It's all a computational construct running on some unimaginably powerful computer built by a civilization way, way more advanced than us. So in this picture, our universe is totally self-contained. It's a program just running. The whole thing is based on an idea called digital physics, which means that at the very bottom, reality is just information. It's just bits and code. And here's the kicker. For us, inside the simulation, it would be completely 100% indistinguishable from a real universe. All right, so if the simulated multiverse is like a single-player, offline video game, what we're about to talk about is the exact opposite. Think of it more like a massive cosmic internet, a whole network where different universes aren't just running side by side, they're actually connected. This is Structured Multiversal Interactions, or SMI. Yeah, interaction is the magic word here. The SMI framework says universes are not isolated little bubbles. Nope, they're structured systems that can actually influence each other. This completely shifts the game from just a simulation to something more like a living, dynamic, interconnected system. So how would this even work? Well, it kind of breaks down into a few steps. First, every universe has its own internal structure, its own rules. Second, and this is the big one, they're connected. Maybe through something wild like quantum entanglement, or even gravity somehow leaking from one universe into another. And finally, the whole system adapts. The rules of how they interact can actually change and evolve over time. So it's not some static, pre-written program, right? It's more like a living, evolving cosmic web. Okay, so we've got these two huge ideas on the table now. Let's put them side by side. Let's really dig in and see where they're different and, more importantly, why those differences really matter. Now, before we jump into the nitty-gritty, this is the one thing you really gotta lock in. The simulated multiverse is like a single piece of software running on one computer, totally isolated. SMI, though, that's like a whole network of computers, all talking to each other. One's a monologue, the other is a giant conversation. All right, this table really breaks it down for us. Let's look at the mechanisms. See, the simulated multiverse is all about digital physics, just computational processes. But SMI suggests actual physical things we're already studying, like entanglement and gravity, could be the connections. And check out the scope. The simulation theory is just one of many speculative ideas, but SMI is trying to be a much bigger tent, a framework that could bring a bunch of different cosmological models together. Okay, so they're different. Big deal, right? Well, actually, yeah, it is a huge deal. And the reason it matters is because they're trying to do totally different things. One is basically a philosophical puzzle, and the other is trying to be an operational blueprint. Think about it like this. The whole simulation idea, it really forces us to ask that deep philosophical question. Is any of this even real? It's profound. But SMI asks something much more scientific, much more practical. It asks, okay, assuming this whole system exists, how does it actually work? And if we peel back another layer, you see the simulation theory is really a thought experiment. It's for exploring those massive ideas about consciousness and the nature of reality.
The goal of SMI is much more hands-on. It's trying to create a working framework, a model that you could, in theory, use to understand and maybe even predict how this vast network of universes actually behaves.
Wow. Okay, so after laying all that out, these two massive mind-bending ideas, where does that leave us? What's the big takeaway from this whole journey into constructed realities?
Look, if you walk away with just one thing from all this, let it be this. The SMI framework takes that amazing idea of a simulated universe and lets it evolve. It pushes us from thinking about reality as a single, isolated program to imagining it as an active, interconnected, operational system. It's the difference between watching a movie and playing in a massive, online, multiplayer game. And it leaves us with this one last, really provocative thought. As ideas like SMI start to take shape, are we actually seeing a fundamental shift in how we think about the cosmos? Are we finally moving past just asking what if and starting to actually sketch out the blueprints for how a multiverse might really truly work? That's a pretty wild thought, right on the cutting edge of science.